All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I made a video for like a 2017 end of year summary. What do you guys want to ask? What did I miss? What do you want to see me do? All sorts of things, just a general Q&A. And I said, hey, ask me questions, do whatever. And 154 people did whatever. So let's go through them quick and answer or update or all of the above. So it is 76 in here. This fire is blazing over there. I'm starting my build 5.3 in spring. Would like to know the best setup for 600 to 750. I think the Don't BS Me build can go 750, but that's a stretch. I think that's going to be a push. I think the turbo will do it. I don't know if everything else will. Realistically, the 750 mark is tough, I think. We're going to find that out soon. I mean, if you hang in there, I'm going to add fuel to the Don't BS Me setup, and we're going to see if it hangs in there. That's the biggest thing we got going on right now. Because otherwise, that's a fairly simple combo. You just do some extra all I'm doing now, the combo is the same. All I'm doing is adding a fuel pump, and I'm trying out 2 different size injectors to see what happens. So if all you need to do is upgrade your fuel in the Don't BS Me build and we can make 750, that would be awesome. Other than that, most of the time I feel like when people want 750, they want more than that. They should probably go like a billet 80, like 96 T6. They should get something bigger. But yeah. Late entry dumb request, but if you do an overview of the Colorado, could you show the vacuum PCV setup? Yeah, I literally just vent. The valve covers are just open. I can try to show how I route some vacuum lines, but it's way simpler than you think. I don't do any kind of suction, PCV, vacuum pump, recovery, none of that. Literally those things are just poking out into the air, and my vacuum stuff is hooked up as vacuum stuff is. So I can try to do that, but it's really simple. It's simpler than you think. Yes, a 750 budget build would be awesome. Yep, we're pushing for that. A lot of time has passed. Yeah, I talked about in this video what a 5, 750, 1000 setup be a good idea. The other guy must have missed that because we're pursuing it. Please do a parts list. Okay, yeah. We'll see if just adding fuel again gets there. If not, the larger turbo obviously does it. I watched 2 of your Vimeo vids, injector data, everyone in the writing ups online says reference to FPR setup and flow. Yes, it depends. Some of them have a transition. Yeah, some of the stock tunes have the IFR table, injector flow rate is a slope, and some are solid. So most of the time I just change it across the board. Other times I have done a multiplier for the slope. Other times I have just leveled it. And I haven't really noticed much of a difference. It might be because I'm not a professional, but most of the time I don't have any troubles with a small slope or a flat line. It doesn't seem to make much of a difference as far as what I do. So I can't really answer that for you other than there's no secret there. I'm not doing anything funny when I'm in there. A sloppy radio show, Skype with Lowry would be awesome. Yeah, that would be cool. I'd love to do some radio shows this year where I have remote guests. Obviously, it's hard. So that would be cool. We're going to see how I can organize that. Obviously, I can import, live video stream into the other corner here. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely think the budget 750 rear wheel. Yeah. Okay. Have you ever messed with Alpha N? I have done it on like motorcycle tuning, but most of the time it's not worth it unless you have almost no vacuum on an engine like a motorcycle or a single cylinder. Yeah, that's what I wrote. Imagine that. Have you ever used an aluminum block? Yeah, only once. Only once I used that LC9 and it ended up being like my heartbreak engine that always let me down. They weigh 100 pounds less in my experience. I would, like this guy says, I talk about L33 as like the factory race motor. I would love to to build another light car and a L33 because it's like it has the rods, it has the simple stuff. It doesn't have DOD. It's lightweight. It has almost like a closed deck design. It's very solid setup right out of the box. The 4.8 sloppy stage 2 cam, no. I have to spin them. I laugh when people say this stuff. My wife's truck has the sloppy stage 2 and it has a stock converter, and I would have to spin the motor. Here's the funny thing. If you're spinning the shit out of the motor, aren't you going to have a big stall converter? Some of you people contradict yourselves. I don't know if you realize it. Status of Jamie's Evo. Yep. It's just doing its thing in the garage. Maybe when the little guy's a little bit older, she'll get a car seat and blast him around in it. She says it's going to be his first car. Would love to see 750. Yeah, we're going to push. I don't really want to hurt what I have, but for the sake of learning and doing a lot with a little, we're going to lean a little. Maybe some video of Mark's setup. I could do more stuff. Yeah, sloppy seconds videos. Yeah, I definitely want to do more of those with people where we can ramble and people can learn. Possibly. My vote goes to what to buy for 700 to 800. We're working on it. It's on its way. Where do you find your scanner downloads? If you go into here, buddy. Let's fix this for you real quick. If you go to Sloppy Mechanics website, it eventually goes, there's a link at the top of the tune cabinet page, sloppymechanics.com. In the tune cabinet, you go to, there's a link up at the top, and what I did was I made a Sloppy Mechanics Google Drive, and I made it public, and I put everything in there. So in there you will find, it says 3.0 scan config layouts. So that's all the 3.0 scanner layouts that I use. In there I could put in all of the older scanner layouts, but at this point I'm forcing myself to use the newer stuff too. It's just, that's what they're supporting now. So the older shit just isn't hanging in for the long run. But right there, check it out. If you want the older scanner config files, let me know and I can make them available also, but the stuff that I use is in there right now. I like that idea too. That's why we're doing it. Oh yeah, we're gonna see what happens. How do you organize the bits and pieces in your shop? That's something like I could show. I have a Harbor Freight's bin, and what I do with that is I put everything in it in the little tiers. Let me go grab it. Yeah, I got this guy right here from Harbor Freight. It's like a fishing tackle box thing, and it has a top bin, and this is where I keep like a lot of sensors and miscellaneous things. I have a head bolt in here with the channel cut in it for cleaning out the things. I got sensors like coolant. What else do I got in here? Oil cover plates, ECU covers, TPS sensors, NOx sensors. There's all sorts of randos in the top. And then I'll show you what's in these shelves. Hopefully I'm not making a mess on my desk here. In here is like oil pan bolts, other specialty things, headers, the nuts. And then in this one, there is just the valve cover bolts. All sorts of things like the stuff to hold down the coil packs. These are the smaller intake bolts. Everything you can think of has its own little home in here. Water pump bolts, manifold bolts, valve cover bolts, the gaskets that go on like the water vent stuff. And then these are the things that go on like the back of the cylinder head to hold the ground wires on. Let me tell you, after doing a bunch of motors and keeping something like this organized, these are like accessory bolts. Those are flex plate bolts. This is a whole thing of dowels for a transmission tunnel. These are the dowels for the cylinder heads. Literally, all of that stuff. The block off things for the water. yeah, that, something like this, and you fill it up after a bunch of motors, you're in business. If you're ever looking for something, it's in there. I have a bunch of it now, obviously, but yeah, fashioning something like that, it's easy to find all of the small bits, if that makes sense, the little bits and pieces. Other than that, I just have those shelves. I have those shelves, and I keep things in Rubbermaid bins, and honestly, it's not labeled very well. If anything, this reorganizing here, I want to put like stuff in bins and then write on the outside of the bins what is actually in there. What I normally do is, like, I know like the blue one I have has coil pack stuff in it. The other one that I have that's dark blue, I know just has miscellaneous stuff, like it has a Corvette power steering pump, just other strange shit in it, and so on. And that's literally how it is. I have a milk crate with like a bunch of Ford Carrier stuff in it and a bunch of bearings all zip tied together and things like that. It is somewhat organized. And then I have like a red Rubbermaid bin that's all hoses that has no lid on it, and it's always in the same spot, so it's easy for me to tell like that's where my rubber hoses are. If you watch a bunch of my videos, sometimes you'll see me grab like the whole bin of hoses, and it has like the cheap China stainless push lock in it, regular rubber hose, it has vacuum hose reels. I think I'm out of vacuum hose again. I always like to buy like a 25-foot spool off Amazon. So that's the kind of stuff that I like to do, keep organized. I have like a roller bin that you probably have seen in my videos too. It's like a 3-bin plastic. It's junk. And that's what I just keep T-bolts and couplers in. In the top, it's got like funky bent reducing couplers in it. In the middle, it just has straight couplers everywhere from 1 inch, 2, 3, 4 inch. And then the bottom is all T-bolts. So what's nice is, like, if you have a funky bend, you go to the top drawer. You need a T-bolt, you go to the bottom drawer. If you have something that's just a straight connection, middle drawer. And it's surprised how much you can fit in there because they all just smush shut. So there's some quick tips for organizing little bits and pieces. All right, as we progress, would really like to see more stuff on what it takes to run E85. Literally, it's just bumping your fuel system enough and making sure your fuel lines aren't gonna rot and fall apart, which almost any modern car or swapped car is gonna have a good enough fuel system. But we're gonna go over that as I push my vehicle to the 750 mark or so. I mean, I made 1,000 with my truck in its prior life on triple pumps and everything else. That's all there too. Did I miss what happened to the Kia? The Kia's fine. I bought a newer Hyundai Tucson. Something nice for the family. That's all. That's my only. I've never owned a 4-wheel drive other than cars I've ruined. So I got a 4-wheel drive car because we moved farther into a rural area where, it doesn't get plowed as much as Allentown. It's not as clear. So it was just a smart move. And what's funny is a lady ran a red light and obliterated it. So they're fixing it. It was just me in the car and I was fine, but airbags and tons of damage. And they're deciding on fixing it. I don't know why. Anyway, that's another story. Summary of each build. That's still something I'd like to. I like going over the truck, and then I like talking about some of the Fairmonts and stuff like that. Stuff that I wish I didn't do. Stuff that I wish I did do. There's a lot of seeing your faults and reflection on stuff like that, and learning from your mistakes. I think is a big thing to grow from, and everybody else can learn from, obviously. I'm trying for 750-800. I already bought the 210s. Varen's billet 8096. I want to try that. I so want to bolt that on my truck. I just have so much other stuff to do. I don't want to get off course and just go all out. I was hoping to get a bass tune. I can bring it to the dyno. I do sell bass flash DCUs. Totally busy out of my mind right now, but I'm still getting out like 2 a week or more. So it just depends. Some days I'll get enough people on the hook in that I have just one thread that I keep bumping, and I'm like, who wants one? And when people say they want one, I just look through and I'm like, hey, are you online? Hey, are you online? Because I don't want to take orders and then run out of computers, and then I hate the idea of having someone's money and not being able to immediately ship and burn the product and ship it. But yeah, anyway, I am doing that. I can do that, but it might be difficult for you depending on your circumstance. So it might be easy from somebody else. I don't know. I agree with a lot of these people. I want to see that 4.8 in the Colorado get pushed. Yep. I think it's time for a budget twin turbo. There's like no such thing as a budget twin. You're doing twice as much work for the same. I understand what you're asking for, but twin turbos to me, unless you're shooting for like 2,000 horsepower, I think it's a waste of space and resource sometimes to do twins. Sometimes twins get better packaged. Like if you have a giant engine and no engine bay, sometimes twins fit in there better, in some circumstances, but I really think twins are a waste of time. It's so easy to just slap a single turbo on, a turbo out, intercooler and in, and no like double, I don't know. You probably don't know what I'm talking about because you want budget twins. Anyway, I can't recall you've done any testing with the flex fuel injectors. They're the same, they're just a little bit larger than the stock injector. It's a newer injector. They're susceptible to all the same things like gumming up. People decap the flex fuelers. They are a little bit larger than the other injector. Out of the box, they're not that much better other than they're larger, like I said. Maybe we can visit that, but if you join the decapped injectors group, there's tons of info on that injector, and I mean the flex fuel injectors are only like 40 pounds. So it's kind of a waste of time to mess with them. They're so damn small. In my opinion, I wouldn't be able to do much with them. I hope that answers some of your question. 750 wheel. Try a comparison for turbos. Well, yeah, they're all very similar. It's just how is the company going to treat you and what's their stock like. So the CAS 7875 was a great turbo. I think I used an On3 one before, or a VS one. I can't remember. I've used a lot of VS turbos. The Billet 7875 I have now is a VS. And again, zero issues. I really like buying stuff from Varen because you know what you're getting. And if you have a problem, he doesn't just ignore you. He actually gives you a resolution or, replaces it, or he does what he can. Really, I haven't seen anyone say anything bad about the guy that wasn't. I think I've seen, out of 13 years and 75,000 members on Sloppy, I've seen like one or two people be a jerk off about it, which I cannot believe Varen wouldn't help you. You must be a total asshole, or you must just have never given him a chance. Because some people would post, be like, oh, this turbo's junk, blah, blah, what do I do? And we're like, did you ask Varen? And he's like, yeah, let me know. I'll help you out. That was easy, right? Anyway, 750, yes. 750, yes. How do I feel about the Holley manifold? All I've seen is pictures. I think it gets really close to the water outlets for the heater core. I don't know much else about it. It's interesting that it's modular and it has like a elephant snout and then it has a V-band and then you can do your own up pipe. I think parts of that, it fits some things better. Other stuff, it makes it a pain in the ass probably. I think the truck style log manifold is like the ultimate solution. If you can fit that, you can hang a huge turbo. It doesn't have any problems holding the weight by itself. No turbo brace. It holds it close to the motor to not be in the way. 90% of the time clears a bunch of shit. Downpipe's easy, drains easy. Feeding the hot pipe backwards and down around the back of the motor, not in your engine bay up against the radiator. Blah, blah, blah. Tangent. Yeah, that's how I feel about the Holley manifold. I haven't touched it, but it looks like a good idea. I don't know anybody that runs it. I don't know if it melts plug wires. I don't know if it's difficult in any other way. I know like a KB or a Fowler manifold, like any of that, a lot of people make them themselves. I mean, it's all the same design. It's hard. I don't know who made one first, but they're all very good. I like that design, so if it's close to one of those, it'd be great. I would love to see 800 Dire with my 4.8. I don't know if we'll get there. Maybe the motor will hold it, but at the very least, I don't think the converter will like that much power. So we'll see. On the dyno, I bet I could maybe make 8. I've said to people, I think the limits of this turbo setup is like 820. I bet it would do that. But I bet it would dyno that much power, and if I tried to make it past 1,000 foot mark at the track, it would let go, probably. Anyway, I have summarized the Don't BS Me build. There is a wiki page dedicated to the summary of the Don't BS Me build. Don't play me like that. Like to see the max out the 4.8. Yes, maybe one day. At this time, I don't want to be swapping a motor in it. I'd rather just lean on it a little and we'll see what happens kind of thing. I've seen you tune a few different setups with the 210s where you're getting your injector data. Literally just copying from FID or FIC because they're all just big Bosch injectors. I might sound like a total moron to somebody, but it works fine. And then I have base tunes up for 210s also, P01 and P59. So if you're running that, all those base settings work. Yeah, right there, copy and paste. Go over the order when you start tuning stuff and switching. There are so many videos where people do that. I mean, I could do that, but there are so many that show you how to make a tune speed density and go from there. I do sell videos on Vimeo. There's a link on sloppymechanics.com where I have like lessons for HP tuners. So, and there's a summary. You can, they're 25 a piece. You can watch them forever. And there's a summary of what I do, so you know that you're not just buying it and wondering what's there. So I love the idea of making a 750 package. What can the 7? Yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it right now. How about a sloppy video on how to use the wiki? Yeah, I know, dude. I think I need some cheesy opening for all my videos that's like some guy with big hair playing a guitar screaming, check the wiki page, and flashes the link like here, and then everybody checks it, maybe at that point. What we tried to do is the questions to, my wife thought of this is a great idea. In order to join the Sloppy public page now, she asks, I didn't even look at them, there's questions about my YouTube videos. So you have to like look at the videos to join the page basically. So that gets people going. 750, yes. We're getting there. I know you don't mess with carbureted builds, but would your cam work for a carbureted build? Yeah. Sure. Maybe nitrous in the future. I just did nitrous recently on my truck. I used to do a lot of nitrous stuff, but then in my area, nitrous has gone up about 4 times in price. And in my eyes, it's cheaper to go turbo if you're going to be using that power all the time. I like nitrous. I like it as a complementary added on to boost also. But as far as a dedicated nitrous build, I can't see myself doing that right now. Maybe we'll do a dedicated nitrous car one day, but we used to just take rentals and all sorts of stuff and spray the balls out of them. But anymore, we got tired of having to refill that stuff, so we just put turbos on everything. Matt, when you do 750, okay, I can try that, but the whole point of doing the E is to make the safe high horsepower. And I can lean, I don't think I'm going to make 750, but I might go 20 pounds flat on straight pump. I don't know if I want to do that, but if anything, I would dump a lot of methanol in the car. I get big ass meth nozzles and spray a lot of methane on pump gas. Straight pump, to make a ton of power, you need cubic inches and a really big, like, efficient turbo. So I have a medium turbo and a smaller V8. So those are already 2 marks. I'm making excuses for myself already. So pushing to 750 tire on straight pump gas is going to be really hard because I did a medium turbo and a 6-liter before and I broke it at like 695 a bunch of times, which I had fuel delivery issues, but it makes me nervous to push. Where are you located? Why are you asking? I'm going to answer your question with a question. What do you recommend now for tuning? Like what ECU? I'm doing a budget boosted 5.3 and Mega Squirt stuff looks sick. MS2. Yeah, I mean, You asked another question here. Do you recommend MS1? See, I used the MS1 and the MSD box in like 2011. Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, you can do it cheap if you're resourceful. But then if you're struggling, maybe you should have spent more initially. And then there's another facet to this is the computer solution you're getting doing all of the things you want to do? Because say you want to do racing and you want like bump box features or nitrous control or all of that stuff, and you end up buying supplemental things like a boost leash and a pulse leash and all of that stuff. So you have a cheap ECU, but then you spent $1,000 on add-ons when you could have bought $1,000 ECU and been ahead of the curve. It's like a research subject you have to do on your own, or you need someone at a motorsports place that you can trust, and you need to list it's like when you watch House Hunters. I want a garage and an open floor plan and a large bathroom for my wife. You want boost cut and bump, like, yeah, you need to make sure your solution is all encompassing, or it's doing what you want for the money, and you need to settle on something. Like I've said before, one of the biggest problems with LS motors is there's too much selection. If anything, the market is completely inundated with solutions for people. So they're like, what do I do? There's so much. There's so much shit you can do. Literally for like pennies, you can have a stock computer running it. If you have a free harness from somebody, you spend a little bit of time weeding it out, connecting the power and ground wires, and you have someone that's good with a stock computer. You can load one of my bass tunes, pay for the licensing, and you can be like running and driving and doing burnouts and laughing with a little bit of common knowledge, being safe about the tuning, and you're done for like $200. So it's hard to justify sometimes. And then if you have nothing and you want to have boost cut and some other things, a micro squirt is incredible for the money. You can do the anti-lag launch and all sorts of stuff. It's there, but it's capped out. That's all you got. You're done. You have one input and one output left. So it starts, you have to figure out what you want and go from there. Spend too much time on that, so we're going to keep going. Matt, is it possible to run a twin 4-port boost solenoids? I don't know. Probably. You can do pretty much anything you want. Oh, I'm not going to read this. You can do, let me just say, MS2 V3, I'm unsure about the outputs. Probably for sure. In MS3, you can program a pulse width output. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know about sequential and other weird shit. Just size your stuff correctly or cam it or something. I don't have the time to divulge into this and read about all this crazy shit. Are a lot of people doing it? Is it working? That's a big question to ask. If it's like a pipe dream for an engineer to waste his time and no one's really doing it with success, you got to take that into account. That's what I'll say. 750, a couple things you mentioned I'd like to see. Recap, I did. How'd you like that, by the way? Did you guys like the recap? It seemed like it was well received. I'm an old school guy. I raced dirt cars for 15 to 20 years, and you've inspired me to step up my game, start a build with old square body 5.3 and future turbo. Thanks for inspiring many of us. What the fuck? Give it a shot. Good. Awesome. I love hearing from people that have foregone carbureted small block builds and done a simple turbo LS, and they're like, I can have my cake and eat it too, and of course get ice cream with my children. I do believe RacePack sells an OBD2 plug-in for RacePack. More info on setting up flex fuel conversion will be cool. Flex fuel on the stock computer or flex fuel on like a standalone? Differences. Sorry. Probably means stock computer. Yeah, there's a whole facet to that, to making it work. One of the easiest ways to make it work is choose a P01 or a P59 and load one of my bass tunes on it. It has all the hard stuff set up that I would explain in a feature-filled video about that, because you have to have the flex fuel segment for the motor, and then for what I needed an 80E segment. There's a lot to make it work. Starting from zero, I think it's pretty difficult. My friends and I I'm decent with HP tuners. I know some people that are much better, and it took us a little bit to make everything I wanted into one HP tuners file, and then that's what I started tuning with, and that's what I'm giving out, because I feel like that's the best repeatable result that I can give out. How about a 18 ball-to-the-wall twin turbo 6.0? I don't know. This stuff just... I don't know. It immediately, my brain shuts off when I hear twin turbo, because I know people with single turbos going high sevens on foot brake. So I don't see the reasoning. I would love to do, I've talked about it many times, like a future build. I've said it a bunch of times now, I'm probably going to drive the price up, but they've been for sale forever. But people build like a Fox roller, like a Mustang. I'd actually buy a Mustang, because people will build a Mustang and make it beautiful and do tubular everything and tub the damn thing out, spend $8,500, and it has no engine, transmission, wiring. They realize they can't afford to do the rest, and they sell the whole thing for like $3,500. It has race wheels, it has fresh tires, it has tubular K-member, it has coilovers front and back. It's ready to kill. I would put like an L33 in it. I'd put a big ass billet 80 or 88 in it and let it eat on E. Make like 9 and change on a stock bottom end, go to the track, bust out an 850 on my first pass, drive home. That would be awesome. That would be balls of the wall for me. I think you hit a diminishing return pretty quickly when you want to build a really fast car. And in my brain, like, it has to work economically or it starts to fall apart. If you want to see crazy stuff, watch videos where people spend $120,000 on building a car. I don't think I'll ever do that. I'm not comfortable. I don't have the money to build a $125,000 car. Trust me. I'd be driving a Lambo and acting like an idiot, making stupid-ass clickbait YouTube videos. Anyway, I'm sorry to disappoint, but hopefully the fraction, maybe we can meet in the middle with this clean Fox body roller I buy one day. I'm thinking apples to apple, weed out the naysayers. Be cool if you keep on track to this 750. I don't know if I'll do a meth kit because I can get E in my area now. That's the thing. I would just assume that if you have a decent methanol injection kit, you can make as much as I make on E with pump and meth. Can I just slap some Gen 4 rods? Yes. We've gone over that many times. Yes. Someone just asked that again on Sloppy today. It's like once every 5 days I just delete the post. Anyone ever? Yeah, dude. Everybody has. Anyway. I was wondering about straight... My nose is itching like crazy. I'm sorry. Straight 93 octane and getting to the 600 mark. Would you change... I was wondering about straight 93 octane and getting to the 600 mark. Like, what would you change, if anything, from the Don't BS Me build? I mean, I did make 550, 570 on straight 93. Would I change anything about the Don't BS Me build? Are these two separate questions? Anyway, I'll try my best to assume... I wouldn't change a damn thing about it. I'm so happy with it as is. It's incredible. I think the things that always make me the happiest are a simple build that costs no money, that just keeps giving. And what's neat is it seems like this thing has tons of power left. It seems like it has a lot of room to go yet. And it has been literally like, it'll sit outside for a couple days. You'll start it. I'll go pick up the motorcycle, put it on the ramp, like drive it around, get gas, drive it around, do some burnouts, park it. Drive it the next day. Like, you can drive it on the highway. You can do burnouts endlessly. You can drive it to the racetrack. You can go pick up mulch with it. The truck in itself is super useful, and the fact that it's small, easy to park, makes it even more useful. The other end of that is the entire drivetrain was $3,200, including wiring, fuel, rear end, engine, trans, turbo kit, spark plugs, oil. I documented all of that really well. I put a spreadsheet up for you guys. Anyway, I don't think I would change a damn thing. I think this is what I thought would be perfect after everything I did for a budget build. And I built it to show you, and it is everything I thought it would be and more. At this point, it is more rewarding than I thought it would be. And I think it's capable of 800 or so. I don't know if my motor or converter will do that, but we're going to keep leaning on it slowly, and we're going to see what happens. So there is nothing I would change. It is tough to make a lot of power on straight gas. Not really tough. I mean, 500 tires, totally insane for that vehicle. I mean, at least 500 on my dyno is almost unusable. You can do highway burnouts, for Christ's sakes. So, anyway, hopefully I answered that. I like the 750 idea. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. I have a question about P59 Flex. I don't think it's been covered. I'm doing the tune with truck and flex fuel. I don't see a multiplier versus ethanol content table for spark fuel. The table is in the Gen 4 stuff. It should be in there for spark. Let's take a look quick. What are you working on? A P59? Right here. Let's look at George Melot's P59, and I'll show you where it is real quick. Let's answer your question. It's in Spark and Miscellaneous, and it says Flex Fuel Spark. And it has a number, and that's if it's at 100, say this number is 6 or 7%. Let's, here we go, boys. Let's, where is it at? Well, let me add it. I'm trying to show you. Here. There it is. Here we go. Right here, it says Flex Fuel Spark, and that is when you open up, you go Spark, and then right here, Miscellaneous. This is on a P59. The number you're seeing here is at 100% alcohol. So say you have a 10 in here and you have E50 in the car, it's adding 5 degrees globally at this cylinder volume. So if you have 10 additional in here and you're running E70, it's adding 7 degrees. So that's the slope. That's how that works. It's that easy. So that's it. That's all you got to use. 750, 800 would be great. We're trying. Awesome. Yeah, let me know. We'll definitely do something. I want to set those up. I miss trying my best not to bulldoze people's conversations. It's like the worst habit I have is just as soon as something comes in my mind, I just blurt over top of people. I know it's probably got to make some of you insane, but I try my best. My brain's like, oh, it's like pushing on my mouth. It's like, say this shit, say all this shit. It's tough. I've struggled with it for a long time. My wife does not enjoy it. Most people I know don't like it. They're like, dude, chill. And then I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm blasting over you. Anyway, would love to see a liquid charge cooler setup. I'm really not into air to water at all. I don't know what else to tell you. I really think it's dumb. What happened to the turbo giveaway? Episode 550. Oh, did I talk about giving one away? I have to go check that. I don't know. I think I had a spare turbo and I ended up giving it to a friend that blew up a turbo. He needed it. I think that's what happened. I'm sorry. Maybe if I upgrade mine or if someone wants to give me a bigger turbo to test, I can give away my turbo kind of thing. But everything as is now, it's cool doing all of these comparisons while my setup is the same to see what happens. 750, 800, okay. How about some beginners, basics for MS? I'm going to do Megasquirt videos. As soon as I get a little bit more settled here, I want to go over some Megasquirt videos. I'm going to put them on Vimeo then. Do whatever you want. I'll be watching regardless. That's awesome. Thank you. Which one is more fun overall? Honestly, the budget build. To me, in my brain, thinking about how this build, if I lean on it enough, could go a high 9 when my all-out build went 9.7 is insane. The price difference between them from what I learned and then the performance per dollar is what really drives what I do. Because that's what I see is people wasting too much money on cars. People will just, the money will just start soaring out of control. And they're like, well, I guess I'm just going to quit working on cars because they're too expensive. And I'm like, cars realistically aren't that expensive. You have an issue with your budget control and your expectation. So anyway, I think the 4.8 and 78.75 is more fun because technically I drove around the 6-liter and Billet 80. I mean, that was cool for bragging rights. Do not get me wrong. It was cool to learn everything else. But what's fantastic about that is how close this total bullshit budget build is to that. And that's what this is what always makes me point and laugh at people when I have a smaller motor with realistic stuff doing really well in comparison to big motor, big turbo, kind of thing. What intercooler am I running? I'm assuming you're asking about the Colorado. It's a VS Racing with the vertical inlet and outlet. So the front end of the car is here, the headlights are here, the intercooler's in the center and the inlet and outlet tubes. The turbo comes in and goes into the top, and then it comes out of the top, and then I have posted plenty of pictures. There are videos with the front end off, and you can see, but it's a VS vertical inlet outlet. It's small. It's really small, and on high boost with the big turbo, it generated some crazy heat. So it'd be nice to put something bigger in that truck, but there really isn't much of a front end. I would need to I've explored the option to have a custom intercooler built for the front end. I think that would be neat. Maybe it's something I could do one day where I throw my grill out and we basically make the front end an intercooler and see the gains. But as of this point, not really that big of a deal. I'd be interested in seeing 93 MF. I've done a ton of 93 MF setups. I mean, if people really keep pushing on that, maybe okay. But at this point, like I said, I've waited 10 years for E85 to come to my area, and now it's here. And I feel like that shit is the fuel of the future. It's so easy and forgiving and higher octane and blah, blah, blah. You just need more fuel. Matt, +1 on the budget. Okay. Thoughts on ethanol usage. 93 meth again. I mean, enough people are suggesting this that I might have to do it. I might have to get a methanol kit. And then that's something we can explore. Like I said, I've done a lot of 93 meth. But we can lean on this one a little bit and see how it does. Overview style. Maybe touch on what it takes to go 7s like Mark's race car is notch. We could do that. It would be cool to do a video with Mark where we talk about what it took when he bought the car, what he did, and how he had an issue or two. And then we did a simple setup, and it will go, even with a peanut turbo, it will go 911 all day long. And then he bought a slightly bigger turbo, and it immediately went down to 820s. And then we changed a few things, and then it would go on Wawa pump gas and meth. It would go 820s like clockwork. And then the one day we just put a little bit of race gas in it, leaned on it, and the damn thing, went 7.9. And then I cleaned up 2 things in the tune-up, and it went 786. We just looked at each other like, holy shit. It could go 7s this whole time. I mean, knowing what I know now, we'd have the damn thing on ethanol, and it would probably have gone 750 or better. It would be cool to see what was left in that combination, but it would be neat to go over all the changes. Maybe I could get Mark here one day, and we could do this where we're here, and then I show the slideshow of his build over here, like I did with the Colorado. What do you guys think of that? Comment below if you would like to see a summary of Mark's build with pretty picture book style theme. I'd love to see 750. Yeah, I think I've learned a lot as far as leaning on the older motors too. It'll be neat to see if it can do it and do it reliably. And then the other thing is, even if it makes a few dyno pulls, would it make it down the track with that kind of tune-up in it? We'll see. We're going to see. You should try a ported Dorman 3-piece. Man, I hear that all of the non-factory intakes come apart. From a bunch of my friends that do dyno tuning, they have people who buy those and they come apart. They break on like 1 pound of boost. I'd be interested in it. Don't BS me. Yeah, we're closing in on it. Sloppy Stage 2 versus BTR Stage 2. That'd be a neat test. I think they're fairly close. I believe that I can tell you right now, the Brian Tooley cam would make better power up top. The Sloppy Stage 2 quits early 6,000 range. And then the Brian Tooley, I mean, on my truck, it made power to like 6,800 with the truck intake. So Stage 2 6.0, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Sorry. I would like to see 1,000 horsepower 5.3. Okay. Send me a 5.3 and I'll tell you what turbo I want and we can do it. But realistically, an L33, an appropriately sized turbo, will do 1,000 horsepower. That's a fairly simple goal to reach. Yeah, Mike. Mike? Does he mean me? Does he think my name's Mike? Yep, we're getting there. Do you do any MAF tuning? Well, I do, but anything that's turbo, we basically swap to speed density for the ease of fueling. MAF, I think, is great on some all-motor cars. A lot of times we end up junking the mass air meter because people put the meter in a shit spot and it gets terrible flow over the meter and it ends up being a push. Like, we just switch it to speed density because people don't know how to install a mass air meter. Because a mass air meter needs straight flow before and after, or else it gets turbulent. And if your MAF is seeing turbulence, it's fueling turbulence. I mean, it might be hard to understand, but try tuning a car with a junk MAF. Yeah, I do some, but not much anymore. Realistically, any car that I tune is fairly close to a copy of what I built. And people just bring it, I load a base, and go from there. And they're almost all speed density turbo cars. I'm not a huge fan of the meter with the older cars. Some people have said the newer cars with a really good meter and good placement obviously work really well, up to 1,000 plus horsepower. I know like Shane Hines and Chuck Anders, like they have some crazy, they're mostly blower cars, but they have super high horsepower cars on a MAF. But I don't like tuning with them. To me, the speed density stuff makes more sense in my head. Anyway. Matt, you are so used to having everything you have done that when you explain things, you go into details what happened because you have the experience most of us don't. A simple list for us, simple-minded, want-to-be racers would be the best thing for most of us. The 500, 600 horsepower list, so I found myself thinking, I wish I had asked about the 1,000 horsepower list. Okay. If you look on the wiki page, there is an entire list for the truck, and it says the Don't BS Me Colorado, which is now, and the entire setup, and then there is the other Colorado right here, and this is the 1,000 horsepower build. I mean, it's tough to list every little thing, but yeah, you might have to watch a bunch of these videos because it's hard to just, if you're asking for the knowledge, you might not have the practical knowledge to complete this. So it's going to be uphill. So you're going to have to want to do it. So I think that a list just giving you the list isn't going to complete it or do most of the work for you. You're still going to have to shell out a bunch of work to make it work also. So that's tough. I mean, I can sell you all the parts, but if you hook up your wastegate wrong the first time, all the parts are junk. So it's so yeah, keep watching that stuff, keep reading over the wiki stuff, do a lot of learning, look everything over. That's my best summary for you. Definitely a summary write-up. Yeah. Thoughts on reliability of... I think the horsepower levels are reliable depending on your bottom end and other stuff. I recently tuned that DeBoss Garage Audi on an engine dyno, and we never had time to tune it in the car at all. And he did a little bit of engine work. He changed some things around. I think he self-ported the heads. And I was worried about how much that would change the tune-up, but he took that build and road raced it in like 6th gear in the Audi around Sebring and stuff like that. So he had other unrelated problems, like random things like losing a freeze-out plug and other things, but no tune-related failures. So I was pretty happy with that. I can't say I've never tuned a road race car. I've tuned all motor cars. Realistically, the reliability aspect is going to be, like, people ask about towing with a turbo car all the time. Thermal management. If you boil over your transmission in 1 minute, you can't road race for more than 1 minute. You can't tow something up a hill for more than 1 minute under power. But if you can somehow manage the transmission temperature, you probably can't. Like, that's the whole thermal management. But yeah, I think certainly some horsepower levels, the reliability isn't there. It's just that having your oil temperature at 450 degrees isn't reliable, that kind of thing. So I'm putting together a 4.8 80E out of a 08 Savannah. When I'm putting the cam in, U-Link from Jamie's work truck, did you need a different cam sprocket? Or will the stock sprocket work with that cam? Here's the thing. 08 is probably a single bolt cam gear. When you buy the Sloppy Stage 2, it's going to be a 3-bolt cam gear. So you cannot use, you're going to need a different cam sprocket because you need a 3-bolt cam gear. You need to go on like Lingenfelter Engineering and buy a 3-bolt 4X cam gear. It needs to have the same amount of events, but 3 bolt holes instead of 1. You can get that with a little bit of research, but there's your answer. I'm putting together, is the blue C10 going ethanol soon? We did put it on E, and I did tune it on E. He has just been busy doing some other stuff, and his kid, it's his son's car. His kid has been at college. It has been a brutal winter, as you can tell from my endless bitching in my videos. It's been rough. So we did it, and we did do it on the dyno. It would be neat to put it back on the Deal Paving dyno to see apples to apples. And he does want to install the content sensor and have me convert the computer to do all of the ethanol automatically. Because what I did is I burned 2 computers, one that was straight E and one that was straight gas. So he would drain the tank and do E. So yeah, obviously the impressive overall objective of that would be to enable the flex sensor, but he has to install that first. Then I can bulldoze his tune-up and change it to a flex fuel setup, and we make sure everything works. And yeah, that would be neat. And then we can do gas and then dump in tons of E and dyno it apples to apples. I would like to see that too, but we did do ethanol tuning, and I did pick up like 33 horsepower to the tire on the Mustang dyno. Be right back. All right. Let's continue. 707 just for shits and giggles. I think 707 will be doable because I accidentally made 660 before, so. How's your fuel economy? Lots of people go woo power and throw. It's a truck, so it's probably not that great, but plenty of my Turbo LS builds prior got 22, like the Fairmont. 700 horsepower, 22 miles per gallon. I would bet my truck gets, like, average of what a normal truck gets, like 16. And when you're pounding the living shit out of it, it's probably getting like 4 or 8, which is pretty good considering a bunch of carbureted guys probably get 4 or 8 all the time, just cruising. It's getting dark. Wow, I got some incredible LED lighting out here. Yes to Don't BS Me Build 2, but Deca 80s and a big ass weld on. Huh? I have Don't BS Me. Okay. I was going to say, why would I do a big weld on an 80s? Holy moly. The one day I sleep and it's warm. Thanks for the weather. I don't know where this guy's go. Okay. 5.3 750. I'm doing the 4.8 750, buddy. What do you think of that? Sloppy go-karts probably isn't going to happen. I have too many other vehicles. I'd actually like to get rid of some of my vehicles. Just too many to take care of. They're all street legal, registered, inspected, and insured, and it's a chore sometimes. Well, there's plenty of channels where people fuck with go-karts. I just don't have the time. I'd rather buy a Miata than a go-kart. I'm sorry. Buy a cheap wood heater and get a 5-gallon bucket of waste oil on it. I've read actually a lot about the waste oil heaters, and I might convert my garage stove to have the drip and the air feed. And it seems like the ones with the air feed with a blower and the drip really make some awesome heat. It looks like the ones without the air fed and some other things struggle or smoke or smell bad. So I don't want to do that. But I did look into some waste oil heating for my wood stove out there. But this wood stove already is 78 degrees in here. I stopped putting wood in the stove because it's going to be uncomfortable soon. It's almost there. I'd love to see 5, 750, 1000. We're getting there. I'd like to hear your opinion on using Gen 4 and Gen 3. I've done this many times on my Fairmont builds. Bought a complete, awesome, cheap accessories, wiring, computer, everything, 5.3 for like $300, and then I bought a rotator for like $200, and I put it in. I didn't balance it. I just put it in. I know people who have balanced them and put them in. Neither of us had issues or vibrations. So wiring and fuel line stuff, seriously, every time I touch an AN, they leak. What do I use? I use Parker Push Lock. You just push the hoses together. I think Earl's and a bunch of other places sell similar stuff you can buy if you don't have a Parker store near you and it's expensive to buy it online. But wiring video I want to do soon. The board, the Megasquirt board showing how everything works is essentially the gateway drug to wiring a car. So I'm just going to show people on that. Super easy. Layout, everything's easy to understand and look at. Tools. Show videos what I need. Man, I've built so many cars with so little tools in comparison to what I have now. My wife, for fun, buys me tools. So I have more specialty tools and things now than ever. So making a video like this would be somewhat hypocritical. I could say, like your basics and stuff like that. I could try, but I've slowly built up to what I have. It would be hard for me, I think, to say what a good basic is. But yeah, I can definitely, that would be cool. Show off the tools and how they work and what I have that's useful. It'd be neat to just go through it and be like, this is what I use this for. And, if you think that it's useful for you, you can do it too. This seems like a troll comment. I'm not going to answer it. I would love to see more on HP tuners and what goes into... There's so many things that go into... It depends on like what road you're going on HP tuners. If you watch... I do have the videos on Vimeo. If you are just doing a MAF car, if you're just doing a bolt-on truck, it varies pretty heavily like what you need to do or what needs to be done. So when am I going to turbo the Kia? Never touching my Kia. It's so reliable and so awesome. Seriously, I'm never going to touch it. It still has the warranty. I have no interest in making it mildly fast when I have, the turnkey 500 horsepower truck sitting out there that cost nothing also. I have zero desire to make the Kia less reliable and awesome than it is. I don't know how else to explain that to you. I recently came across Boosted LSX about rolling anti-lag and stock ECU with HP tuners, but no one has evaluated on it. I don't know anything about it either. I hear people talk about, this is what frustrates me, like when I'm like, I'm going to do flex fuel. I'm going to show you guys how to establish a flex fuel tune-up that works, and I'm going to use it, and we're going to push it. And people are like, oh yeah, I've been doing it forever. It's easy. And then you're like, do you have an explanation or a base tune for me or a quick summary? And they're like, no. They act like an expert, but then they can't teach you. Part of that stuff makes me upset. It's annoying as hell. And yeah, there are people that say they can do it. I have no clue, dude. I've never done it. I cannot give you direction at all. I know a guy on Sloppy recently was saying something about using, he like, EFI Live has some like advanced tables like nitrous and some other things, and you can activate a ignition retard with nitrous, a preset amount, like when you ground a watt, like there's certain things, and he's like, I did this, I took all the stuff from HP, and then I added the advanced features from EFI Live, and then I reread the file with HP, and then everything existed, and it read correctly, and he's like, everything's looking promising. He posted about that not long ago. You asked this a month ago. He maybe in a week, last week or a couple days, he was posting about this, and we were all like, that would be very interesting, provide something we can all use and evaluate, and I don't know if he has yet. I think people were messaging him and he was distributing it, and they're working on it, but they plan to give some of it out. I don't know if rolling anti-lag is part of that or what. I'm sorry. In-person classes, I'd like to do eventually sometime. It's just, my life is just crazy right now. Maybe when my little guy's 3 months right now and just starting daycare and, all of that stuff. So we'll get there. We'll get there. I would like to do them again. Mike at EFI Source said I could host the classes at his facility also. So, that's something also we consider for winter, because winter in the dyno bay was brutal. It gets so cold here that we got close to winter and people were just like shivering. So we're like, yeah, you guys don't want to be here when it's actually winter. Matt, you could make hundreds of thousands by gathering everything needed to do a Sloppy Stage 1 kit. Sloppy 2 and Sloppy Extreme, kind of like those companies that drop ship. You really think so? I think that's like a organized pipe dream kind of thing. I don't think people would buy the whole kit. I think people spend sometimes years piecemealing their money and stuff together. I don't think most people who want a super cheap kit are going to buy the $10,000 kit ground up. I disagree with that. It's not something I would pursue. I'd like to know if you can tune my LS1 by sending files and I store them. Not interested in remote tuning. Way too many variables. Australian domestic market didn't like the ADE. Good to hear what's the next best thing. It depends on your price. I mean, depending on what you're doing, probably a 400. I mean, the ADE is great because it's overdrive electronic. The cheap ECU can shift it. There's so many goods. I think that you guys, the 3-speed is most economical. A 6L ADE is an incredible transmission, but you basically need the stock computer that can do a 6L ADE, and those are 58X computers, so you need a 58X motor, and then it all just starts snowballing from there. Like, you need a decently expensive engine, you need to remove the DOD and a high percentage of them, you need to retrofit them slightly. The ECU isn't the most friendly, in my opinion, to build horsepower and speed density and stuff for the 6-speed setup. It starts to get fuzzy. I think it'd be cool if Holley would eventually support the 6-speed, But the issue there is the controller is in the trans, and it uses, I don't know enough about it, but I think it uses CAN bus, and it looks at like the engine load and some other things to work on its shifts. It's certainly not as easy as a 4L80E is basically like a TH400 with overdrive, and it has a circuit path, and it grounds a solenoid, and it changes the circuit path, very similar to just changing the shifter. So it's so simple, it's easy to control. Don't worry about the Vajayos, you have a lot. Yeah. We're getting there. We're rolling back into it. We're ramping back up, I'd like to assume. We're working on the budget for 750, 800. Yes, we are. Low compression versus high compression. High compression is always great in my opinion. There's like no downside. Regarding John Martin's SN95, it's exactly what I would like to do. Matt says everything in the interior works. No, it doesn't have a BCM. Nope. It does use a factory P01 truck computer. Was it hard to convert the speedo? As far as I know, the speedometer had a wire that went to the speedometer, and there's a speed output wire on a P01 and a P59, and he just connected them and adjusted the output until it was even. Any major problems or headaches pulling the motor? I didn't do any of the work on it. John did everything. In my area, it's difficult to find. Just use carpart.com. Yeah, just use Carpart to look for engine and transmission. Would you be interested in finding a new platform, cheap power? Possibly. At this point, man, I just think I think the cheap power game for the LS is just, I think it's starting to surpass Hondas for people building cheap horsepower. I think they're more reliable too, because people are like, Hondas are amazing, you can make so much power, but then like the transmissions and other things are total junk. So yeah, like I like that Boosted Boys channel, and I like what he does, and I like that he works hard and he completes a lot. But then, you know, I think some people have even commented in my videos, kind of like taking a shot at me, and they're like, you only make 500 horsepower. What's his name makes 700 with a turbo Honda? And I'm like, well, through a turbo auto and a bunch of other things, obviously my truck would be faster with 500 horsepower than their minivan or Civic with 700, because it has a more broad power band. Like if you look at turbo 4-cylinder, it's like a 60-degree line, and it makes its peak power here. Or my truck makes 500 horsepower. Like if you look at a mile-an-hour chart, which they showed their dyno pulls on mile-an-hour, and I can show you mine. The dyno chart for my truck is, it makes 500 horsepower for like 102 miles an hour. So from 50 to like 150, it crams out 500 plus rear wheel that whole time. So it's hard to compare them. And I have no driveline failures. And those guys are like, every time they take it out, they break a transmission. I feel bad because the stuff is cool, but I feel like they get, just the way it's presented in the videos, at least, is they're constantly breaking transmissions. And at the track, Honda guys, axle, trans. And I mean, you'll see some domestic people do that, but I don't do that. I don't break transmission every time I go to the track. The transmission's been in my truck. The transmission had 140,000 miles on it when I pulled it out, and now it has like 3 years of straight abuse, upwards of 1,000 horsepower, and it doesn't care. So it's hard to argue those points about cheap power. So it's tough. GM turbo 4-cylinder. I don't know what I would like. Would I do a front wheel drive GM turbo 4-cylinder? I think a lot of people have already explored those facets. I have like almost zero interest in doing like a Cobalt SS or something like that. I hear they're a total pain in the ass. The other ones that are direct injected seem like even more of a pain in the ass. I don't see myself going in that direction unless something radically changes. I like the idea of stage 2 750. What about a build with a manual gearbox? Difference in the components. I've thought about it a few times of doing the popularity of the CD09 or CD009, the Nissan Trans with the adapter plate. really has garnered a lot of interest for me, in my opinion. I think that would be cool to maybe do that. As far as I know, I'd have to look into some people making some really serious power with the CD009 and see if like I could do 750 and beat the shit out of it. It'd be neat to make 500, but I think it'd be one of those things where through a stick, it's so much easier to make power. It translates power to the tire so much easier that it would take almost no boost and almost no engine to make 700. But I think at some point you run into like the clutch just not being there. A friend of mine built a 300ZX with a turbo LS, and it's a fairly small turbo, mild camshaft, and on low boost he couldn't even keep the clutches. He had the CD09 and the trans was fine, but he couldn't keep clutches in it. And he even bought a dual disc, and he had endless issues with clutches and stuff. I don't know if it was him or a combination of things, but it seemed like he struggled with it quite a bit. And he recently just put a T56 Magnum in and relevant clutch, and he has no problems now. So, there's a lot to think about. I think it'd be cool to build an all-motor car with a manual gearbox and just drive it like a horse's ass all day, like my 2-valve. I don't know if it would be reliable to make a ton of power with a stick shift car, but yeah, of course, it would certainly generate a higher horsepower number. It's something I would consider. I don't think I would put the manual trans in my truck, if that's what you're asking, but it'd be neat to maybe build a turbo LS car with a manual. I don't think I would get if you watch Taylor Ray, he is doing I helped him out with an ECU. He's doing a 5.3 Miata, and he did the CD09, and he makes the same references that I do. A T56 being notchy, super expensive. It's like $1,500 for a destroyed T56, and then you're spending a ton of money on a clutch setup, and then the internal slave on the T56 gets hot, and then the transmission won't shift. It's worse than it normally is, which isn't that great. And just price of constantly, if you scratch a T56, like you're dropping $2,000 again. Like that's coming out of your pocket. It's tough. So like he said, the CD09 is $1,500 brand new from Nissan. You can find them as low as $400 or $500 all the time. So once you clear all of that, it's easier. So that's where I'm at with that. I would do it sometime, but I don't have plans right now. But it would be neat to do for sure. Would I consider going back and building a small block 5-liter pushrod 5.0? You've tuned a lot and learned there are too many living past. Maybe. If you watch this channel far enough back, for 10 years, my friend and I built a 5-liter pushrod Ford over and over and over again, and we both wore ourselves out with that. He has a Supra now, and I do the LS stuff. And that's part of where my hate for 5-liter stems is more than likely our own ignorance many times over. And part of the reason why I don't like them so much is we would get something and then people are like, this fits. And you bolt it on, it doesn't fit. The water pump didn't fit. The oil pump didn't fit. Then they're like, you can't use the stock pan. And he would have a pan and then nothing would fit. The oil pump would hit. Like he had to fuck with everything. And then again, like he had a balancer and then stuff wouldn't clear the balancer. Like endless amount of just like FML. Like I hate myself now. And with LS stuff, you're like, oh, this fits. Like I have something on the floor that fits too. I have burned up one cylinder head. We'll just put mismatched cylinder heads on. We'll put the same valve springs in both cylinder heads. All the push rods are fine. That aspect of it has just stuck with me for so long that I don't think I could go back. Technically, I do tune a bunch of small block Fords a year. Not that many. Obviously, I don't do a lot of Ford stuff, but every now and then I have a friend of a friend who's like, will you tune this? I don't have a huge expectation. I've done a bunch of blower ones and turbo ones last year. There are plenty of people that are more knowledgeable that are pushing them way harder than I ever would, like Tony Reiners and other people. So I would invest your time in them. They're doing a much better job more often than I am just jumping into it. So the Micro Square plug and play works incredible in my opinion for a budget, for especially if you have a Ford and it runs. You pull the whatever A9L or whatever computer it is, you plug the Micro Square in and hook up a map, and you're done. It's incredible. Bam, like instant control. See how far you can push it. I am. Maybe a weird thing to suggest, but make a video series on how to get to the 750 or 500 range for someone who doesn't have a garage. Well, we've done that too. You can do all of that in your garage. I've done a lot of builds in a garage, out of a garage, under a circus tent, welding things out in the rain. Least expensive way to have a shop help you with a sloppy build. We've gone over this many times in like the sloppy series where I talk to people with shops, and one of the biggest things I can push for you guys is you might have a friend that owns a shop and he lets you get away with stuff, but there is almost the expectation that someone is going to do shitty work for money is a dumb expectation to have. You cannot have that expectation that you are going to pay money for a result and it's all going to be shrugs and laughs, because you are going to have your feelings hurt when he's like, well, I reused everything and I got RTV in your oil pump and your motor's blown. And you're going to be like, well, you have to fix my motor. And he's going to be like, we were under the assumption that shrugs and laughs, right? It doesn't work. Like, the guy is spending his time to fix your car right the first time or build your car right. Most of them anyway. We talked about this extensively with like Area 1320, the Subaru shop. And he's like, he has done budget builds and he has friends that have completed budget builds and they have brought them and they he did the tuning or very little bit of work, but it was all under the agreed expectation, that it might blow up or whatever else. But I don't think you can think to yourself, I'm just going to drop this off, spend $1,300 and make 500 horsepower. Doing it yourself and learning along the way is the best way to expect that. Expect to spend a lot of money at a shop because they're only going to want to use parts from a manufacturer that backs them well. And that's going to cost money because having an entity like Real Street Performance says this all the time. You can buy your parts. They make funny videos. You can buy your parts from a guy that sits on a couch and undercuts everybody. But when you have a problem, that guy's not going to pick up the phone. Other people will help you out. Getting stuff from a reputable shop, spending the money. You are buying the peace of mind and the expertise. I can't go over that enough. It's tough. I hope you understand this mini rant about that. Matt is number one SpongeBob reference. I haven't seen SpongeBob yet a day in my life, but maybe my kid will start to enjoy it. He's only 3 months, so he doesn't know what SpongeBob is. Need to bleed the ABS and track on my Lexus. I have no clue. Bob Taylor, what's up? I've been trying to reach you. Well, Bob, everybody sees your phone number and they're probably going to call you. I realize you're not a shop, but I'd really like to set up a dyno day or night. My life is busy now, Bob. I am pushing it right now, squeezing in the time to do this video. Maybe. Yeah, the best thing you can do is email. I haven't looked at the email in a long time. I bet there is an endless amount of emails in there for people that want to schedule. The dyno went underwater, and I stopped scheduling almost all at the same time, easily 3 months ago, because that's when my kid was born. That was it, because it was house, second house, renovating second house, baby, second house, first house. All of that was going on. It's been difficult, and that stuff just got put on hold because it's something I do for fun. So yeah, Bob, if you need it done, here's the thing. If you need it done in any timely manner, you should probably call somebody else. But if you're just sitting around, screwing around, and we can all have a good time, it's something I'll entertain. I think a lot of people that watch this realize that. I do it for fun. I don't do it for money. I don't want to marry you if you're annoying. I hope we can all laugh about this, but plenty of people, like, they want someone that they can call and bother the shit out of, and they have to realize that they're going to have to. You need a real shop and a real person that does it, and you need to pay them really well, or they're not going to want to constantly answer the phone for you. I hope you have that. I feel like we're at a turning point now. I talk about this with the other guys I know that own shops, and it will be something cool to bring up on Sloppy series of videos where the customer has become pretty bad lately because, like, someone who, even I am bad at some points for these tuning guys for what I do. I mean, I don't. Some of these people will be like, I have $150 HP tuners cable. I'll tune your brand new car. And they'll move all over the place, and people are like, yeah, this guy's really good. And people don't know what good is. And just because this guy's $50 cheaper and he ruins your transmission or your engine, and then people, I don't know. We're in a weird spot where, like, the customer gets all the rights, or they say something bad about you on Facebook and they bury your business for something that didn't matter and didn't maybe even happen, and you were the jerk the whole time, but they suffer. It's weird. We're in a weird spot right now where people are driving the price down to a point where, like, no one's going to get anything good out of it. That's something strange that's happening. Like, I like doing what I do economically and helping people wrench on their own, but just like what I said about dropping your stuff at a shop to get a sloppy build, the shops are worth their money for a reason. Most of the time, the people that cost a lot of money are doing a really good job. They have insurance, like, they will help you if something breaks and it's their fault. All of that's what you're paying for. It's tough. I need, like, a structured talk show about that with you guys, because I feel like that's a big problem. And a lot of my friends that tuning is their day job, and they're like, this guy has a dog shit combination and he wants me to tune it, and I'm trying to tell him that it's not going to do what he wants, and he's like, well, I just found a guy on Craigslist that'll tune it for $200. Okay, well, you wanted 460 plus horsepower on motor, and you bought all bullshit parts that I know don't work, and you're going to make 380, and you're going to be mad at me, and you're going to be mad for me charging you. I'm trying to help you reach your goal, as I always talk about goals, and you go with this guy anyway who's street tuning your car without a wideband, with no guarantee that's going to skip town in a day. And that's okay, though. He's $50 cheaper, and he talked a lot of positives about himself. Anyway, off the rails. How many more do we have? That's it. Okay, I've gone long enough. I don't know how long I've gone. I paused a bunch of times to do stuff. Hopefully it's not insanely long. It's not like people have been complaining about the long videos, so... Any possible 2JZ? The Vortec 4200 I've thought about many times. The more I read into it, I learned that the crank is really weak. It would be cool to do. I think they sound cool. They sound like a giant Supra. But it would be cool maybe as like a novelty. But part of me would want to push it. And I've heard that, like, they break soon after 500. Can people elaborate or fill me in on this? I think the other issue would be is getting an adapter. It would be cool to do... a 4200. I think they sound cool. I thought about it many times. Mike at EFI Source is like, if you get one of those motors and you want to lean on it, I'll give you an ECU and wiring harness, do the legwork for me. That would be incredible. That's how much I've talked to him about it. We just haven't done it. I think it'd be neat one day if I can get a mostly complete one on an engine stand for next to nothing, and I can wire it and run it at my leisure on a gold box, and maybe we can put it on an engine dyno instead of fitting it to an engine and then blowing the motor out like 400 horsepower to the tire. That would be wholly disappointing. So maybe, yeah, that's cool. Ryan has a 2JZ. Corey has a 2JZ Tempest with a Glide. So there is some people doing 2JZ stuff. As far as like super cost effective, it would be neat maybe one day to 2JZ cost effectively, put it in something ridiculous. Drive 2JZ Fairmont. That might be one of the first. Tuna Association. 2018 is a year I'm finally starting down my first sloppy build on an 88 Camaro. First build ever, and my only rule for myself is to learn, build, fix everything along the way, because I want to drive a car I can say I built. Putting an LS in my YJ Jeep. You helped me. Thank you. Thanks everybody for the positive comments. I have a question I don't see in the Facebook post. What do you think about closed loop dome control, dial-a-boost setup with something that will be on a race car? Basically all I'm saying is the whole race car thing is it will be using boost timed from launch. Closed loop dome control, dial-a-boost setup with something that will be on a race car. Basically, all I'm saying is the whole race car thing is it will be using boost timed from launch. I mean, see, people are funny. Like, they ask a question and they do like a maybe, what do I think about? Or can it be used? Or am I incorrect in assuming? Or, yes, you can do dome CO2 with a dial that changes the offset. Yes. And yes, it can be run off of a timer, off of a trans brake very easily. Yes. So, yes, I think I'm answering your question with a yes. Anyway, that is the whole thing. I hope, we didn't kill anybody with all of this. We were pushing on with the 750 rear wheel build. I guess any other questions, ask them in this comments reel. Enjoy.